Namaste, my dear friends from the sectors, fundamentally the energy sector, and also the public sector area where the public sector organizations are there. I'm addressing this particular video today to these two specific audience and to general public as well, who can take a clue of two very important developments. My name is Professor A.G. Iyer, and I am the president of the Marconomy Foundation and also the author of India Brandish, Superpowering Brand India. And in addition to that, I am also the editor-in-chief of the ENFRA journal, which is a leading journal of the energy sector and power sector in India, and basically fronting renewable energy, as well as I am also the editor-in-chief of the PSC journal dedicated to the public sector enterprise and the Marconomy journal, which discusses the economy. Plus, I also had India's apex body, the Renewable Energy Promotion Association. With that little introduction of mine and all my videos you have been seeing, many people understand very deeply what I do. Today I want to focus on two developments. The first one is basically related to the public issue of the LIC of India Limited, the Life Insurance Corporation, India's top insurance company for the general insurance and basically the public insurance. Okay. That is the one thing which I want to say. And the second thing I will come to is that after that weak disinvestment process of LIC, the next shock that is the government had to scrap the disinvestment process of BPCL, Bharat Petroleum Corporation Limited. So these were the two developments which I am discussing. But first and foremost is the LIC thing. What was the reason that the LIC thing became a lukewarm kind of a situation? The government had set up, and this listing happened on the 17th May, the IPO happened on the 17th of May, just now, recent story. And the government had fixed the price band of rupees 872 per share. But we went down by roughly 8.11%. The final listing, it was at a discount of 8.11% of what the government proposed, because the IPO price was rupees 949 and the government got about rupees 872 per share. Of course, the employees and others, they got a better price, about 889, so their losses are less. But the QIBs and the institutional investors, they have to book the loss in this case, and definitely all people who have taken it will have a larger time holding on to the LIC stock now. And the government wanted to first disinvest about 5% of LIC, and their target was to generate about 21,000 crores, and it did not happen because finally they had to only sold off about 3.5% of the LIC stake. So this is seen as a big I would say lukewarm response to that IPO. Otherwise, most IPOs in the past have done very well, but it was not only LIC that faced this. It is a trend that is continuing in the current dimension, because there were two more IPOs of the private sector which collapsed, and they did very badly. One was of 197 Communication, which is the holder of the Paytm business, online transaction, this module of Paytm. So they also witnessed a gap down. And the other one before that was the very I would say almost a failed market capitalization process and the poor performance of the Reliance Power. So these two history is available, and it's almost like LIC's in the mega IPO terms. These three mega IPOs we discussed, the trend has only continued. Now, why the government, now the next thing comes, I've just briefed you that the LIC disinvestment did not generate the kind of response that government would have thought about. It was much lukewarm, and shares were sold as a discounted price of 872 compared to what was fixed at rupees 949 per share. Instead of that, rupees 872 per share was the realized price, 8.11% discount. So this is not a success, it cannot be seen as a success. It is a lukewarm response, and only 3.5% is offloaded of the stake of LIC. And we must not forget that LIC is a top company. Even in spite of this, LIC is a top company, and its LIC's market capitalization on listing was about rupees 5.5 lakh crores, and it's still placed among the top 5 companies in the country by market cap, right? So it is not putting down LIC in any manner. The only thing is, was it the right time to bring such a IPO? That is the question that raises. So probably the government's experiment has backfired in that sense. Now what happened? The next step was the scrapping of the disinvestment in toto of BPCL. And now we are hearing that they may want to offload in a public methodology, or again offering to public about 25% stake sale in BPCL through a public disinvestment process. So that is the alternate, and after all the expenditure of time and effort in actually disinvesting BPCL. Now problem is, BPCL is not a loss-making company, it's a profit-making entity, and I want to put up certain facts about this BPCL also. Got some documentary facts here for you, which is very important to understand what is BPCL all about, what it is. If you look at BPCL in fact is a very large company, one of the top oil and gas. After IOCL, BPCL is the number 2 oil and gas company of almost of the country, and in that sense it operates 24% of India's 80,458 retail outlets. It operates 22% of those outlets, and 23% of the 263 aviation fuel stations, and almost 21.3 million tons of LPG bottling capacity is available with them, and a combined 550,000 barrels per day of refining capacity in Mumbai and Kochi together, where they have these refineries. It has also petrochemical units, stakes in city gas distribution, and a 10% stake in a $20 billion Mozambique LNG project. And this was the position as of January 2022. Now, the first question rises, why government wants to disinvest a well-to-do and completely profitable oil and gas PSU? And it is also clear that BPCL has been is almost like one of the best run oil and gas companies of the country. So why government was after the disinvestment of this company itself is the first question. The second part is, who are the people who showed interest in the privatization of BPCL? Who are the companies who actually showed deep interest in picking up stake in this company? That is the most important thing. Because why did they scrap finally? Because all the major people who showed interest, they backed out. In November 2021, the American firm I Squared Capital dropped out of the process already, and they dropped out because of the simple situation that they saw that they were not able to rope in the amount of equity capital and money required to take over BPCL. And as I told you, that two important decisions put that barrier. Government was looking at somewhere a band of $11 billion to 12 billion for BPCL disinvestment. But let me tell you what happened is the Vadina refinery, which was at the backyard, and it is also by refinery standard, it's the second largest refinery. It was taken over by Rosneft in August 2017 at a consideration of $12.9 billion. Now that deal laid the benchmark, and government was going by that benchmark, and that benchmark cannot be referred in today's time, because that era was a different era, because it's a pre-pandemic era, and that deal was a very right timing of the deal, and SR quickly moved to sell off their SR oil assets and the Vadina refinery, and they already had a mega competition with Reliance refinery at Jamnagar, so this was on the backyard of Jamnagar. So the big company Rosneft pushed itself in and offered a price at which the deal was done. So 12.9 billion for the refinery for Rosneft, and today Nayar Energy, that is the name of Rosneft in India, and they have they are 6,000 plus pumps, and the whole game, when they came in, it's only 2,500 outlets. They have 6,000 outlets, and they are expanding beautifully in this country and strongly. And in the current crisis of the Ukraine and Russia crisis, this could be a mega savior, because Rosneft is completely active in the country selling petroleum products, and that is a success for Rosneft. But this did not happen, because after Biden came in, after Joe Biden became the president, he immediately pushed his agenda towards totally renewable energy, and he was completely against the movement towards the fossil fuels, and that's the political position he took, and then resulted in all the investments going towards this fossil fuels or oil, gas, and etc. going away towards other markets. This is the most important development that people must understand, and we must know that this has happened in spite of the International Energy Agency based out of Paris stating that India is the best market and the most promising market for fossil fuels. In spite of this positivity, the shift has gone towards a renewable energy portfolio, and even the BPCL is eyeing towards and going towards renewable energy, because nobody would pay the 12 billion that BPCL stake or sale wants to achieve. Although I was thinking that if Vadinaar and the assets belonging to this erstwhile SR oil is far smaller in comparison to BPCL, agreed. But at the same time, it was strategic for Rosneft, and Rosneft paid that price. It was a pre-pandemic price, but done. So it is not possible for BPCL to achieve that. So probably the government is rethought the strategy, and then the only group that was left in the fray was Vedanta, because the other two firms simply dropped out. iSquare Capital dropped out long ago, and another company, Apollo, also dropped out in the process of the bid. This must be known, because iSquare Capital did drop out in November 2021, and Apollo Global Management also dropped out, and the only group that was left was Anil Agarwal. So now the next question also comes, why did Reliance not take deep interest? Because it was predicted that they would do. Because Reliance's own deal with Aramco fell through. Earlier they had a deal for $75 billion investment, and Reliance wanted to separate its refining businesses from the petrochemical business, and Aramco wanted to acquire the petrochemical business at 75 billion, and they thought that they could get a direct captive feed for their crude oil also, and Reliance also thought this could be good because they can continue to procure crude from Aramco at a decent price and make merry in the market. That deal slowly and steadily scuttled off, because almost all the oil and gas companies sitting in the Middle East, they almost follow the track of what the Americans do. They do not still push themselves towards renewable energy, but that is not the case with Shell, ExxonMobil or BP, because they are all going towards renewable energy. But in the meantime, what's happened? BP has formed a joint venture with Reliance, and they are also coming with their outlets, and that is because Reliance now needs to find a larger market here with the increasing cost of diesel, petrol and all the retail fuels, including aviation turbine fuel. The prices are going up and up in India, and that market still not at that level at which, because Europe is an advanced economy, they can continue to pay. So Europe and US as well as UK are going to struggle more with what has happened between Russia and Ukraine. The war between Russia and Ukraine has resulted in more advantage today for Russia. Their ruble has strengthened. It is gone to 65.5 ruble to a dollar from a level of 80 ruble to a dollar in the month of April. It has now come down to this. At the same time, Russia is extremely strong. They are earning more from their sale. Europe is not going to get out of purchasing oil come what may, because oil and gas which is coming out of Gazprom, especially Russia, will be continued, because Europe is completely dependent on it. So America can say anything, but the grass reality is different. So all these sanctions and all have not benefited the Americans, Western countries and NATO. In fact, it is more or less benefited Russia, and Russia is pushing and making the best of the situation and increasing its profitability, increasing its ability to serve the market at this point of time, and it will continue to sell its fossil fuel to the whole world, including they may even end up selling coal. And India, with its energy security problems, will have to continue. They can't reject buying this Russian fuel resources or energy resources. We are dependent on both Russia and other sources of the world. We can't mortgage our future. In fact, we should go beyond. We made a mistake. We should have closed the rupee-ruble deal also, because that's the only way to go forward, because we have to, and this is our security issue. It has nothing to do with the conflict. We have not created the Russia-Ukraine conflict. We are a neutral party in the whole process. We can't continue to be pushed by the West and NATO and their agenda. That is not the agenda of India. India's agenda is to see whether they can continue to stop the hegemony of China and also secure its own position in the global market for energy security. And in that perspective, whatever decisions we'll make, the Americans will have to understand that this can't be that they push down the throat their agenda in their entire stand that they have taken in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Instead of actually introspecting and going towards peace process and ensuring that this does not escalate into a full-fledged war globally. At this point of time, the unfortunate position is this is almost going towards almost it's at the cusp of a full-fledged war, and Russia has benefited from this. As per figures that I have already given you, ruble has strengthened. They are earning more than $20 billion a month on the sale of energy sources, and it's expanding, So more and more they will do, and the Americans are going to buy costly gas and gasoline and petrol and all that, and India is buying costly already, and it is going up and up every day, and there is it doesn't seem that it will end. It will continue to move forward. So we will be under huge duress. In addition, our foreign exchange reserves are in duress because just to keep the rupee stable, because our rupee has gone beyond 77.37 rupees to the dollar, and that is while ruble is strengthened, rupee is weakening. So we have to look at deals like we will have to do euro deals. We will have to be agreeing to pay for euro, and we may probably have to do barter and counter trade also. Maybe we give wheat and other sources and get crude, and this we should start back. It is time for us, and ruble has to be done, because when ruble is strengthening, it's better we do a bilateral deal with Russia for our own purpose, and the Americans have no business to tell us what to do in this case. So this is my take today. I feel India should bother about our interest. Renewable energy is there, and all these companies, oil and gas companies, should keep one step towards renewable energy, and they should go towards compressed biogas, which is the best option for us to make compressed biogas out of agriculture and animal husbandry waste. The SATAT Plus report we have already presented together with the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, and also supported by Evonik AG of Germany. We have already released this report in full public view. It is available with the ministry officials. They must up the ante so that of the 50% of the villages in India, there is one plant per village, which is feasible, which I have said so many times. We should go towards biofuels, and top of that biofuels has to be compressed biogas under the SATAT Plus regime, where first we should expand from 5,000 plants to 10,000 plants as an outlay. We should push the priority lending scheme and make the bankers accept only plant as a collateral, and no more additional collateral should be there. We should up the ante for investment in this direction, so that our dependent on imported gas comes down, at least for the retail sector, in the automotive sector, so that the IC engines life extension program comes into play. So this is the most important part. In addition to that, instead of the electric vehicle, we should look at the IC engines itself with biofuels. That should be our direction. And ethanol blending we are doing, but why ethanol blending? Why not produce compressed biogas out of cane sugar and hybridization with the cow dung and other sources of animal husbandry waste, which have huge quantum of biogas in them, and that is extracted, upgraded, cleaned, and can be made 99% pure using high-tech membranes as provided by Evonik Germany. And this is the area which must be exploited. There are membranes which will come up for advanced separation that can even separate the hydrogen from the biomethane or biogas that is produced. So we must look at this technological shift, and all these oil and gas companies must invest reasonable quantum of their research and development in this area, and must support these developments of projects, decentralized projects, because a 7 tons per day biogas plant with compressed biogas production using membrane technology may cost about 35 to 40 crores, which is about $5.5 million US. And if we have 3 lakh plants of the 6 lakh villages, if 3 lakh villages have one plant of 7 tons per day, for calculation purpose, if we say, which will use about 200 to 250 tons per day of waste to produce 7 tons per day of compressed biogas, high grade, directly to be used in automobiles. It's got better calorific value. It is non-fossilized organic biofuel, and what is residue is left is a organic fertilizer. So great potential, great IRR, 13 to 15% IRR, highly profitable, good business, but decentralized. It will not be held by one businessman. All around the country we'll have SME businesses coming up and doing these projects, and these projects can easily reduce our importation load for compressed biogas, which is bio-CNG. So we can go to bio-CNG instead of having this CNG. Pumps can use bio-CNG with this process. This should be our route, and we should invest. The entire oil and gas sector should focus on this renewable fuels, and this is the greatest renewable fuel. And the next step towards this is, if any additional capacity is there, we can produce hydrogen. We can also generate power in a decentralized manner. If we don't want to produce CBG, we can produce electricity. Tariffs will not be more than 5 rupees or 5.5 rupees a unit. Highly effective to hybridize with solar decentralized in the Kusum scheme, which is for rural India. So this is the type of aspect that we have to focus on, and the government should put all stress on this direction rather than looking at disinvestment and other processes. The only way of making revenue, as I told you, if it is 5.5 million per plant of CBG of 7 tons per day for 3 lakh villages, if all the villages one plant, I am telling you, it is a 1.65 trillion US dollar traction for the Indian economy, only by capex traction. And you cannot imagine what kind of sale traction will come out of this. The sale traction, it could be phenomenal. It could be trillions of dollars that we are talking of, something like close to $3 trillion of traction per annum. So this is the changing or game changer for the country. Not IT, not all these areas. It is the renewable energy extended towards renewable fuels and RE mobility, which I talk about. There's no e-mobility. The electric vehicles, lithium based system that we are talking about will be again a danger for us for disposal of lithium, cobalt, nickel. In addition to that, lithium is available only in 4 countries. 92% is controlled by Australia, Chile, Argentina, China. These 4 countries control 92% of the global lithium deposits. So we had better be careful of putting all our money into electric vehicles. Instead of that, we should go for vehicles driven by compressed biogas, and then the electric vehicle should come from the hydrogen fuel cell EVs. That's the way forward. And this is my message to Gadkari Saab and the Petroleum Ministry, the Power Ministry, and all the persons and stakeholders concerned with doing this. Let us work with our rural India. Let us use the parali, the sugarcane press mud, the rice husk, the waste coming from oil seeds and all type of agri waste, hybridize them with the animal husbandry waste, and create a great business model for India to indigenize our process, then depending on this LNG import and this forever. We may continue to do this for 5 to 10 years, the LNG import and gas imports, but our dependence can come down drastically in a real Atmanirbhar way if we go towards the CBG as the masthead and other biofuels like I would say biodiesel, etc., coming together with it, so that we can look towards retrofitting the IC engines market technologically and start generating this economic traction and huge employment traction for India. With this, I say Jai Hind and bye-bye to this video, which has been a little longer because it's almost like the 24th minute that I am into. Looking forward to our next video with you, and this video is for the PSC Post and the PSC Journal. Namaskar, Shabba Khair, Jai Hind. See you in my next video. Bye-bye.